Hello, this is James St. James, and in this episode we're going to talk about how long the healing process takes. Join me on my journey as I integrate ancient and modern medicines to reverse engineer intuitive healing so that you can re-engineer your body and mind to live vibrantly once again. You might have seen the other videos on the healing process and be wondering how long does it actually take to recover from the health issues that you might be experiencing. Well, in this video, I hope to cover exactly all the factors that come into play during the healing process that determine the amount of time and the amount of effort that it might take for someone to recover from the health issues that they're dealing with. But in summary, there is no simple answer as there are many factors and a lot of it really depends on you. But for the purpose of this video, I want to go through those variables and those factors that determine the amount of time that it takes so that you can have a clear expectation of exactly what you're getting into, the amount of dedication, the amount of hours that it might take for you to be able to transform your body using the reconstruction process. If you haven't yet seen the video on the healing process, I suggest you check the link in the description of this video, as that will give you a background information about what I'm talking about. Now, for the healing process, just real briefly, I'm going to summarize what it is so that it gives a context for what I'm about to jump into in terms of the time factors that are going to be involved. So as we're going through the healing process, we're changing our body so that it functions better by creating actual physical changes, much like tissue manipulation, scar tissue breaking, physical therapy. These kind of things all play into reconstructing our body so that we have better nerve flow, better blood flow to the organs so that the organs function better. Then once the organs function better, they're able to supply the right nutrients, the right oxygen, the right level of everything the body needs so that the body can then become stronger. Then once the body is stronger, and then also inadvertently, the brain becomes stronger because the brain is mostly the result of what the organs are able to produce and supply through the blood and the nerve to the brain. Now, once these things become strong, then we can have a larger foundation and a more vitality by which we can start creating more changes. And this is going to play a huge factor because when we are changing those tissues are surrounded and wrapped by the fascial structure, which is like a spider web, but it's really, really, really strong. In fact, the fascia is 5 to 10 times stronger than steel. So with that being said, it's no wonder why it does take quite a while to make these changes. Think about it this way. You're actually performing what a surgeon would normally do, just without breaking the skin, because we're going into the body as deep as we need to, all the way as deep to the bones if necessary. And we're literally changing things piece by piece until every single thing is working perfect. That's the goal of the healing process. And to do that in a safe way, and this is what I'm outlining, and this is what I'm studying right now here with a healer in Indonesia. Now, to describe the limiting factors that will keep us from being able to heal the issues faster, there's many things that will come into play. For example, the most rate-limiting organs that are involved in the healing process are the kidneys, the heart, and the liver. The reason for this is that the mind and the subconscious will not want to push itself beyond the capabilities of the kidneys because it can cause kidney damage. When you're disrupting these tissues, oftentimes these tissues that have been damaged have been locked up for many, many, many years. And what happens is when they do lock up or when the tissues become damaged, they begin to lack the necessary flow, the blood flow that they need to be able to regenerate properly. And when they stop regenerating, they become not dead, but they become preserved. And in this preserved state, they're unusable, but they're not also dead at the same time. But what the body does is it stores toxins there. The body stores toxins in the damaged tissues because for the active tissues, they're in high amounts of use. But for the inactive tissues, it's a safe place to store them because the toxins will not get in the way. But when you start releasing these tissues by reconstructing the fascia around them and then allowing the blood vessels to get back in, then releasing the flow, the toxins are going to be released, and they're going to be released into the bloodstream, which then must be filtered by the kidneys. With that being said, the brain is very smart, and it will want to limit you. Your subconscious will purposely keep you from trying to release too much at once so that it will protect your kidneys. So for this reason, it's really important that the kidneys are as strong as possible when going into the healing process. And if you haven't been able to strengthen your kidneys, you either A, must go through the healing process at a very careful and slow rate and be able to be mindful of what is happening inside you and how you feel at every step to make sure that you're not pushing your kidneys too much during the process. Or B, what you can do is strengthen your kidneys so that you can take on more at once. And this will help accelerate the healing process time. The second organ is the heart. And the heart is important because the heart determines the strength of the blood vessels. Now, when we're doing the healing process, we're going to be using objects to manipulate the tissues. And when that happens, there's a limiting factor of you want the tissues to be continually regenerating, but that can't happen if there's no blood flow. What could cause a lack of blood flow? Well, if you push too hard or in the wrong way or in a way that goes pinch, ouch, then it's gonna cause the capillaries to break. And when that happens, you've probably all had that happen before, like you hit something with your shin, it turns a little purple. Most of the time it's inconsequential. Sometimes it leaves a bruise, sometimes it leaves some purple dots behind. This is because the capillaries are breaking. And when the capillaries break, they stop delivering blood and oxygen to the tissues that need it. Now, in the total grand scheme of all the things that we've been through as human beings, a little bruise isn't the most severe of consequences, but it will push the body back. It means that there's going to be more damage that it then has to go and fix. So ideally, we want to keep the body from taking on those little purple spots or any bruising so that it can continually focus on healing the old and structurally damaged tissue rather than newly created issues. So those who have a stronger heart will have stronger blood vessels, and by having stronger blood vessels, it will allow you to be able to push more into the body without breaking the capillaries accidentally, which will give you a little bit more freedom and a little bit less concern as you're moving through the healing process. The third organ that's really important, and is, I would say, the most important, is the liver. The liver is responsible for maintaining the fascial structure of the body. What do I mean by maintaining the fascial structure? Well, we have our body, which is made of bones and organs and muscles and all sorts of things, right? There's a lot of things in the body. And the fascial structure is the one thing that contains everything. It wraps the bones, it wraps the organs, it wraps the muscles, it wraps the skin. It goes through everything. It gives us the structure of who we are. Now, when the structure cannot be maintained, it becomes subject to damage. For example, when someone is hungover or when they're coming down off of a substance, the structure is very hard to maintain, and during that time, it becomes very subject to becoming permanently damaged. Normally, during our sleep cycles, the liver is responsible for regenerating the fascia to make sure that any damage that was taken on through our daily stress is then reversed and repaired so that we can wake up the following morning being in a state where there is no weak points. And because there's no weak points, then we can take on the next day's stress without taking on too much permanent damage. And this is the way the body is able to constantly repair itself from average daily stress, which normally isn't an issue. But because our lives in this modern day society have become quite unbalanced, it becomes an issue, especially when people aren't able to sleep well. as sleep is such an important process in the, not just, life, but also for the reconstruction process as well, because it's going to be putting back together our structure. And the liver is the main organ, and I wouldn't even say the main tool, that is responsible for maintaining our structure as a human being in this shape, with all the blood vessels going through, with all the organs going in it, and with all the muscles and the bones. It is the structure, and the liver is the main organ that is going to be determining how well that structure performs in making it elastic and making it durable. That's why it's really important to have the kidneys, the heart, and the liver being really strong when you're going through the healing or the reconstruction process. Now, if you are in a situation where your kidneys, heart, and liver are not that strong, that's okay. The beginning is just going to be a little bit slower for you before we can start targeting those specific organs and then regenerating those first. No matter what, even if they are strong, a generally good strategy to have is to go and regenerate those 3 organs before any of the other ones, or even any of the other issues in the body. The reason why is exactly that, is that those 3 are the main powerhouses for how you are going to be able to regenerate the body on a physiological level. Through doing that, you can accelerate the process and make it so much easier, less painful, and quicker. Now, in addition to those 3 organs, what it led me into is talking about sleep, because the sleep cycles really matter in terms of the fascial regeneration, because the overall goal of the healing or reconstruction process is to reconstruct the body. Now, the organ that is the main one, again, is the liver. When we're sleeping, the liver becomes actually hyperactivated, not only delivering glycogen to every cell throughout the body, but also the brain. And through the sleep cycles, especially the deep sleep cycle, what happens is the body specifically the pons, causes a neurological trigger that causes our body to just boom, the muscles become completely inactive. And from that, we have this locked body state. And in that state, it's really important that we don't move. That's why our body does it automatically. And the liver goes and starts repairing the fascia during that time, because muscle movements can disrupt the repair process. So our body stays perfectly still, stays locked into the bed, and then the fascia is able to repair. Now, if you do not get enough deep sleep, talking specifically the deep sleep stage of the sleep process, which involves many cycles and many sleep stages, which is like alpha, beta, and then delta, and then deep sleep, REM sleep. These sleep cycles have a really big play in the way that not only the body, but also the mind are reconstructed. And if one isn't able to take full advantage of each of the sleep processes and the sleep cycles, then they're going to be at a disadvantage in the healing process. And the tissues are not going to be able to regenerate as quickly. And the overall time it's going to take you to fix the health issues that you're dealing with is going to take much longer. So for that reason, I say that sleep is a really key factor, especially the deep sleep. And secondarily, REM sleep are really big factors in how fast you can heal the issues in your body and reconstruct them into a way that is then again functioning. Because sleep is so important to the healing process, that is why I had the scientists at Nootripure create a sleep product first. Because sleep, even for me, was not easy to attain back then. I had so many mental issues, anxieties, worries going on in my mind many years ago, and it was keeping me from sleeping and getting the sleep that I need to rejuvenate my body and rejuvenate my mind. Because of that, it was holding me from going and healing and regenerating things faster and it was taking so much more time than it needed to. So for me personally, I gained a lot because I was able to make serious and drastic changes in my body and mind faster by accelerating the level of sleep that I was getting, the profundity of sleep, meaning that I was engaging in the deep sleep and the REM sleep cycles much more so that I can regenerate faster and get the results that I wanted. For this reason, that's why I had them create the product, what's now called Rejuvie. Then it works like this. So you do the exercises during the day, the techniques from the healing process. And through that, you want to accelerate the physiology. And for that, we have a product, which is the secondary product called Thrive. And Thrive, it's a product just based on that. It helps you regenerate the fascia, and it is going to be leveraging certain organs that make that more possible in a balanced way, as well as accelerating your mental faculties and capabilities as well. And when you do that and accelerate the body tissues and your physiological capabilities throughout the day, and then you make those changes to the body in a semi-permanent way, then you go to sleep and you sleep really well, getting the necessary, especially deep sleep, that's going to regenerate the fascia and make those positive changes that you made permanent. So no longer will you have these stress patterns going through your body that are disrupting your organs, disrupting your blood flow, disrupting the nerve connection between the organs and the brain, such as through the vagus nerve. You will be able to regenerate those things much, much quicker, especially if you're on the day and night cycle. Through this cycle, now you're on the accelerated path by leveraging the physiology. That's why I created those products, but obviously, if you already feel like, hey, my heart, liver, kidneys are really strong already, I already sleep really well, then perfect. You're already on the track. You may not even need anything. You just go and apply the healing process, should work for you. But I created the products because back then my health was really bad and I didn't have the ability, the strength to be able to push myself in that kind of way where I could make drastic gains in my health that lasted permanently. And for that, I needed to supplement myself with something, and that's why I designed those products the way that they're designed. And for that type of product, there is no other product in the world designed to accelerate the healing process like this. And so I was really happy that I was able to create something for people that would allow them to take something that could be used to make permanent changes in their body and mind that will get them out of possibly horrible situations, whether it's with health issues or mental health issues that they're dealing with. So now that we covered the physiological limiting factors for what's keeping us from healing faster in terms of making permanent changes in our body and mind, now let's talk about more of the environmental factors or the lifestyle factors. Now, it's also going to depend on a lot how much damage you have. I mean, some of you have done really phenomenal in life. You took care of yourself from a young age. You always stayed away from alcohol, and you've done really good with maintaining your sleep and your sleep cycles and your activity levels. And I'm proud of you. You've done really amazing, and you will have a lot less work to do. Now, for other people who've engaged in activities that you may have known are not healthy for you, and maybe lost some sleep, stayed up too late too many times, crammed for exams, taken on too much stress just from whatever, injuries from sports, drug use, alcohol use, these kind of things take a toll on our body. And for all those things, they don't just go as soon as you forget about them. No, every single thing that you've done in your life has affected your physiology in some way, unfortunately. Now, with that being said, what can we do now? Well, now we don't have to just live with this body where it's, okay, this is my personality. This is just who I am. I'm just stubborn. I just have these little knacks. The strength of the organs, the sleep cycles, and also temporarily boosting the physiology through the boosting the organs during the healing process and also through the sleep cycles is the main things I wanted to talk about for the internal ways that are going to determine the amount of time it takes to go through the healing process. Now for the external factors in terms of what it's going to be holding us back or what's going to be determining significantly the amount of time it takes to get through the healing process comes down to, one, how much damage our body has taken on, and then two, how much time we can dedicate into actually making those changes, and then three, what kind of strategies that we have to be able to take them on and create those changes most effectively. For some of you, you've done really well in life and maybe you had good guidance from your parents, you slept really good at night, didn't stress too much through school, stayed away from alcohol and drugs, and are doing quite well. And for others who, maybe like me, didn't sleep well, became really stressed out, maybe engaged in partying a little bit too much, action sports taking a toll on the body as well. Through many areas of life, there's so many ways we can take on what we call stress. And through this stress, what it basically means is long-term permanent damage in subtle ways that our body stores internally and usually deeply. Now you have the opportunity to be able to undo that stress, reversing the amount of damage that has happened. But in doing so, we have to take responsibility for everything that we did in our past. When you stayed up late at that sleep party, when you drank too much, when you got hurt in that sport that you were doing when you were young, all these things, they didn't just vanish, unfortunately. Time doesn't actually heal everything. It heals some bit, but just through sleep cycles, but it doesn't heal much actually in terms of what becomes permanent damage. Now you have the responsibility to be able to take that on because you have the control, because that is the idea behind the healing process. But with that said, when you have so many things that have been damaging your body stored in your body, the body has not forgotten any of it, and it's stored in there and it's affecting your personality. Your personality is not just something that just came from the mystical side of the universe. It is the accumulation of damage and how it's affecting your organ function, which is affecting your mental state. That's how the personality is shaped. We like to think that time heals and that because we're young, that the damage will be able to fix itself. But the reality is that when we're young, our body is just extremely proficient at reallocating those damage points and the stress to deeper levels to where it doesn't inhibit us from being able to perform our physiological, our mechanical, or mental functions in this way that we can perform and do well while taking on a certain amount of stress. But it can only do that so much. So by the time that someone is around 20 to 30 years old, literally they have gone through so many fail-safes, meaning they've broken probably thousands or tens of thousands of things. In order to get to just one single disease, it must mean that so many thousands of things have gone wrong, but they're just tiny things, and they're things that the body has been able to reallocate and store appropriately so that you can maintain function. Now, in the medical, they determine your health by your functionality, but when it comes to how the body works by taking the damage and putting it in places where it doesn't disrupt functionality. So a person can actually take on enormous amounts of damage without it actually disrupting the organ or the physical or mental functionality. At the point where it does disrupt organ, mental, or physical functionality is where we start to say, okay, there's symptoms. And once there's symptoms, we categorize them and call that a disease. So that's why I say it could be thousands and thousands and thousands of things that have gone wrong in order to just create that first disease, which most people usually get between the age of 20 and 30, and for some people, even younger than that. So I just wanted to give you a perspective that there's a lot of things that need to be fixed. Even just for the healthy average person that has not been diagnosed once, they still might have thousands of small points of damage that can be fixed and can be changed so that they can perform, think, and function better. That is the goal of the healing process. And so when someone has a lot of damage to the point where symptoms start showing up, to the point where even their mental faculties are starting to become limited, they might feel limited in their being able to express themselves, their insecurities, they might be limited in their social skills, they might be limited in their cognitive thinking abilities, they might be limited in the way that they're able to run quickly or swim fast or have perfect shoulder movements. It could be a limitation in any way. Now, for me, I want to be unlimited because that's just my personality. I like freedom. And that's why I'm creating this channel for the healing process, is to help other people like you become unlimited. But the point of bringing this up is that for the people who are coming from a place of damage, from a place that, like me, I did not take care of my body and take care of my mind, take care of my health when I was young at all. So I had a huge list of things to take on. And for the people who haven't taken such good care of themselves growing up, they're going to have a huge list of things to do, a much bigger list. And in order to get to the point where your organs are strong enough to make serious changes, it might take you a while in the process, as the process of healing in terms of time is actually exponential, for the reason that, one, your ability to heal is going to be increasing. Because there's so many hours of work that are involved, it's not practical to actually have a therapist or a practitioner be able to apply it to you. So for this reason, I just create these videos to teach you how to heal yourself. In fact, when most people come for me to heal them, I don't spend the time actually trying to fix the issues. I just teach them how to fix the issues themselves, because it takes literally tens of thousands of hours of perfected strokes to be able to fix really deep issues within the human biological system. So the amount of damage that you have accumulated through the previous years of your life, and especially if you're 20 versus 30 versus 40 versus 50, it's all going to make a huge impact in terms of how much is on your to-do list and how many things you have to take on before you can start feeling a lot better. Now, age isn't an important factor. What matters more is how much damage you've taken on. So a 50-year-old can have a lot less damage than a 20-year-old, which is especially the case for where I was. Many 50-year-olds had a lot better health than I did at 20. And so for this reason, I wouldn't say age is like a huge factor, but it just means that you had 50 years of opportunities to accumulate those stresses from daily life, from sports, from various activities, or even emotional mismanagement that could be affecting your body, and be affecting your organs, be affecting your tissues to keep them from performing the way they are in their optimal state. Not only does the total amount of damage matter, but what also matters is what symptoms are being caused from the damage. Because some people can have a lot of damage, but not actually be too affected by it. And some people can have less damage, but it could be severely impacting the functionality of one particular organ, which is causing them to have mental health issues, which is causing them to have panic attacks, seizures, migraines. It could be going into all sorts of things just from one particular line, because it only takes one line of damage to actually kill a person. So with that being said, it's not going to be even or equal for everybody, as some people who have more of an even distribution of the stresses on their body are going to be less affected. The reason why I bring this up is that when people come up to me and ask this question, they want to know how long until they feel better. And how long it is until you feel better, you could literally solve maybe the 10% of the damage that you have and feel better if it's only that 10% that's causing most of your symptoms. But for another person, it might be just a collective amount of a lot of damage, all just causing just everything to work not so well. And in that case, they would need to solve 90% in order for them to feel better. So in this case, it is very dependent on your situation of how highly targeted that damage is in terms of its ability to affect your mental and physical performance. And it is not the same for everybody. It's going to be completely dependent on an individual basis. Most people who are young, say millennials, and are experiencing either a mental health issue or a physical health issue, it is going to be unevenly proportioned. But if you have a generally healthy person that's maybe in their 70s or 80s, their damage is likely to be more evenly distributed. Once you find how much damage you have and where it is, then it comes down to resolving it. Now, to resolve the damage, and it's not something that can happen just in a few treatments, it literally takes tens of thousands of strokes to be able to fix generally one particular issue. And the goal is to get in those strokes or that much amount of precise work so that you can make those changes as fast as possible. Because as we move through life, we're also taking on new stress through our daily life, emotional stress, physical stress, the activities that we do, we're adding stress. And then we're also trying to set aside a certain amount of time each day, hopefully, that we can reduce that stress by fixing the actual damage it's creating. So the goal is in each day to come out net positive. Now, if that for you, 30 minutes a day is the most that you can allocate to fixing your body and taking care of yourself, then boom, 30 minutes a day, great. If you can do an hour or even more than that, you're amazing. But if you only got 5 minutes a day, you're like 5 minutes a day, I'm already losing sleep on this, then hey, it's better than nothing. But the point is to make sure that you're coming out net positive, that every single day you're feeling a little bit better than you did the day before. 2 things I would recommend to anybody just right off the cuff for being able to make sure that you stay net positive and gaining health on a day-to-day basis. Those 2 things are, 1, to avoid alcohol. Why alcohol? Because it damages specifically the liver. And the liver is the organ that's responsible for maintaining the structure, which is the structure that we are trying to rebuild so that everything else can work well. The second thing is to avoid working out in terms of just heavy workouts. When people do heavy workouts, they generally are strengthening parts of the human body that are already strong. There's so many parts that are very small, and like the meniscus and the tendons and the ligaments and so many aspects, like these tiny little muscles, maybe even in our face and our jaw, that are really critical to support and to strengthen. But when we strengthen the larger muscles that generally don't need to be strengthened, what happens is they're really good for things like sports and fighting. And as that's kind of how we are designed from a primal perspective. But it also, because the muscles are so big, such as the gluteus, such as the quads, such as the triceps, the biceps, the latissimus, all these muscles are really big and they're really protective. Meaning that they protect your body from taking on damage is a secondary functionality, not just in the strength that they're able to move things. Because of their protectiveness, they also protect the damaged tissue, which is great if you're in a fight, but if you're trying to heal yourself, it'll actually protect, and because of its overbearing strength, it will lock in the damage of the underlying issues in the more weak and sensitive tissue. Because of this, it's best to avoid increasing the strength of your body in any way possible if you want to make serious changes in your health and in your vitality and resolve these critical damaged points of your body. Now, I'm not saying that all exercise is bad. If you want to go for a jog, you want to do some yoga, you want to do Pilates, there's a lot of ways that we can move and we can get on a good sweat. Personally, I love dancing, poi flowing, fire spinning. I'm also a skater, and doing these activities for me is like, it's plenty enough. I don't need to be able to push something that's really heavy or be able to manipulate my body weight so much, because even things outside of the gym, such as CrossFit or heavy calisthenics, these things can also cause the body to build the strength so much that it starts protecting the damaged weak spots, which are the spots that we're trying to get to in the healing process. Imagine you're like a surgeon, and as a surgeon, you're trying to get into do the surgery in the underlying tissue of the damage. But in order to get there, there's so much layers of bulk and fat and things on top of it. It's going to be making your job extremely difficult. And especially during this process, we're not surgeons, we don't have knives, we can't just cut through it. You have to get through it somehow. And if there's all this muscle in the way, it is not going to work out very easily at all. And it may even become impossible for you to heal the deeper underlying issues that are causing most of the symptoms that you're experiencing. So for this reason, that's why I highly recommend avoid alcohol and strength training. Now we've ensured that we're moving in the right direction. We're constantly making net positives. Now your net positive might be small, it might be big, but what's going to enhance it to become even further is having a really good strategy. Now this comes from the logic side, through practice, through experience, through understanding. And that is exactly why I created this channel, is so that we can create better strategies by which we can heal our body. Now the strategy might be including something like the things that you're already doing. You might already be doing Pilates, yoga, physical therapy, acupuncture, massage therapy, these kind of things. Everything can be included into a strategy. You just need to figure out what works for you. Now for the time that we have in this video, we don't have enough time to go over all the strategy because that is the purpose of this entire channel. But I'm going to give you 3 quick tips on how to build a good strategy. Now, the first tip is, if you don't have a strategy, just go with a shotgun approach. Just anything that feels like, hey, this is sore, this is bothering me, just go in there. And especially go for the easy targets. Go for the low-hanging fruit first. They say you're not the most technical person, you're just jumping into this, you're not a medical or health professional, you've never done this before, shotgun approach. Just start healing everything. The worst that can happen is you just get a little healthier in some other area that you weren't intending. The second recommendation is that after you have worked to release the damage in a specific area, to engage in a full body exercise, something that pushes you just a little bit beyond your physical capabilities, whether in flexibility or strength. These activities such as yoga, Pilates, or even if you're really proficient at it, dance. These kind of things will help release systemic tension, because once we're done releasing the tension and the stress within a damaged area of the body, it's then going to release, but it's not going to be able to propagate throughout the rest of the body, which means it's going to have surrounding tension around the original damaged area. Now to release that tension, you're going to need to be able to then release the tension throughout the body through movement. Body mainly reduces and redistributes the tension forces in the fascia through movement. And this is why movement is critically important, and it must be movement that's at the fullest of your capability, meaning you're dripping sweat, your blood is flushing, you're panting, and you can barely breathe, like that kind of movement. And through that, the body is able to redistribute the stress load, and that will not only make the whole body less tense, but it will also reduce the amount of tension around that specific injury or point of damage, making it so that that damage now can be articulated once again to release another layer of stress. So we've covered the internal aspects of the limiting factors of the healing process, such as our organ strength and our sleep cycles. And then we've also covered the external things, such as our lifestyle patterns, whether how much we are working out or how much time we dedicate towards the healing process. These kind of things will have a huge factor in the amount of time that it takes for you to get to the point of health that you want to be. Now, like I said, there's no simple answer. Even for every single person and every single day, it's going to change. The only thing that I can say is that it's going to take tens of thousands of strokes. It's going to take 10,000 hours, say, or so, to be able to master that part of your body, that part of your health, and become a master of your own mind and body. And now that I'm sharing this information with you, now you have the ability to take control of your mind and your health. Whereas before, I think a lot of people, they come to me, they feel frustrated and stuck feeling that their personality is the personality that they have to live with, stuck with that their conditions or that their mental faculties or capabilities are what they have to live with. But no longer is that true. And that's why I wanted to create this channel and give you this information so that you know that the power is in your hands. And now for me, personally, I'm right in the middle of the healing process, still going through my to-do list, trying to overcome as many things as possible. And if you see where I was just a few years ago to where I am now, it's incredible. I mean, I wake up just enjoying every single moment of my life, wake up with so much energy, vitality, clarity, and the ability to just share this all into a camera, which is really difficult for me, but the goal is to be able to help other people enjoy what I have gained. And to me, it's the most valuable thing that I've ever come across in my life. And so I hope that there's other people out there who are willing to put in the dedication, the time that it takes to get through the health issues that you're dealing with and create those permanent changes that are going to allow you to live, feel, and perform the way you want. I hope you found this video useful. If you could think of someone who might benefit from this information, then please feel free to share this video or series with them. Also, please feel free to check out the other videos in this channel, as we're producing almost a video a week with the intention of bringing you tools to help you transform your mind so that you can improve your mental and physical performance. If you would like to support our mission to provide mental wellness to the world, then please consider making a tax-deductible donation to the Nootripure Foundation, for which is a link in the description. And I look forward to helping you create a better you.